of a new dynamic coming of Jesus today is very much in line with the minds and the manifest minds of the popes recently. A new presence of Jesus, new coming of Jesus through the power of the Holy Spirit in the hearts of the faithful. Now, so that's the curriculum. That's the original grace that came. We're now 16 years later. You're coming out with a new book very soon, Suspended in Mystery. I want to hit a couple of the key notes of that because, one thing I found so beautifully in these messages and also in the writings is there's this combination of the mystical, the absolute supernatural, but also the eminently practical. Even in the subjects that our Lord deals with, he's dealing with deeply spiritual subjects of contemplation and interior purification, but also people in financial difficulties, people in prison, abortion, divorce. So it's both the quintessentially mystical, but it's also the absolutely practical. So now, 16 years later, let's hit some of the most recent topics. So for example, in your new book, there's beautiful insights on the Eucharist. Tell us a little bit about those.
Well, I think that in line with an increase in personal holiness, I suppose really what had to come was an increased understanding of the presence of Christ in the Eucharist. While people are, the Catholic Church is experiencing a loss of faith. We have lost faith in some ways, which is great for us. It's absolutely wonderful to be part of that truth. So then when you say, when you're disillusioned, people feel disillusioned about that, they really have to go to the core of why we're Catholic and what that means. Why are we different? And that is really the sacramental life and the Eucharist. And so I'm not surprised that the Lord wanted to allow a greater understanding. So the Eucharist is the body and blood, the soul and divinity of Christ. Okay, people, their tongue rolls over that. And that's not going in, it's not going in here. It's like, okay, I've got that right. Now what is that? So once during the elevation, the consecration in the Mass, I had been asking the Lord, give me something, Lord. This has been quite difficult of late. These are a lot of challenges. I think I'm going to need a little help. So I'd like to know you better. And in the moment, in the Mass of the consecration, I just got it like that. How it was Christ. And it had to do with quantum physics. Well, and it's where it sent me. That we each have a separate, unique DNA strand, like God creates us each in our mother's womb. We come to be. And that is an energy, a point of energy. Now, we didn't ask to be here. We can't decide when we die, most ever, really. And Jesus comes according to his agreement and his devotion to the church, though. He picks up his life, and I think what he says there is, I live. I live. And there's hope that he can impact the world directly through each person who receives him. And I'm trying to articulate something that's quite hard to articulate in fullness, but the Holy Spirit is also with us, and that is our hope. So then the Lord, I think if you were saying something, second word to burst from him as he comes to, be in the body and blood, in the wine and the bread, would be, I want to teach. I want to teach.
So, as you say, at a time where there is more peacelessness, where there is relational breakdown, where there's family breakdown, where there's crisis in the church, it shouldn't be too surprising that Jesus is focusing you to focus us more on his Eucharistic presence. A dynamic understanding, not just habitual, a dynamic understanding of what it means to be in the presence of God, made man, made sacrament. And even this use of quantum physics to talk about the power of the frequency of who he is and how he enters us seems absolutely appropriate right now in this age of being louder and busier. He wants us more quiet and more receptive of his Eucharistic presence.
Exactly. He kind of, I think, is saying, you're not going to get it in the action. You're not going to get it in the busyness or the activities. If you're sitting in front of the Eucharist, He is resonating. And this is what I think everyone needs to concentrate on. How can I keep my state of being the same as God's? And that is, it's a resonance with God. So you're in adoration, and you can sit in front of it, and as you said, it comes out of him. It emanates from him. And you're sitting there, and you've got a bag with, 3 books, a rosary, this and that, and it's all happening because he's resonating out to you. And it's not, you don't have to be active to receive. And I'd say to everyone, if you go into Eucharist adoration, you go in with like a to-do list. But often you just get, when I hear this in the adoration chapels, you see and you hear this. And I love it because it's like they've clipped on. And he resonates out to them and changes and alters their state of being.
No.
The sacramental graces always impact us in a profoundly personal way. And often people receive the Eucharist, they receive communion, and they don't feel any differently in a conscious manner. And yet maybe those tears will come to their eyes because Christ is healing them on a very deep personal level. And they're not aware of that, but the tears indicate the state of being is altered.
It's happening. It's hard for us in the active Western world at a pace we're not supposed to be going at. I remember one of the earlier messages, Jesus saying, you carry me, I don't want you moving that quickly.
Yes.
It's a very powerful word for today. But
one time there was a situation where I was wanting to walk, I wanted to get my exercise in, and the Lord's like, sit down. I said, well, I can walk. You can talk while I walk. And he said, but you can't listen.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, the spiritual antennae are not up well for us, right? It's because we're not quiet enough. But this Eucharistic dimension of receptivity, it's hard in the West. It's hard in a special way for men who tend to be more active to have the feminine quality of receptivity, which is so necessary to be blessed by our Eucharistic Jesus. So it just, for an endless list of reasons, it seems so appropriate that we make efforts to spend more time in adoration, receiving the daily gift of the Eucharist. Fantastic. Now, you segue in the book from these new insights on Jesus and the Eucharist, the importance of his presence, to the power of Our Lady, the importance of Our Lady today. And you had one very profound set of visions regarding Our Lady. Tell us a little about